6 years is a long time to be in love with someone silently. It's enough time to commit the sound of their footsteps on the stairs to memory and know which mug they pick up when they're tired, to recognize the precise pause in their breathing before they lie. It is long enough to establish routines that mimic marriage, even if no promises were made in the first place. Long enough to confuse patience for loyalty. Long enough to think no secret is forever. For 6 years, I believed him when he'd say, "Just a little more time." I wasn't looking for anything serious, but I met him. That's lies we all tell at the outset, isn't it? I told myself I was independent, healed, fine on my own. He was quietly charming, never the loudest of any group, but for some reason always the person everyone leaned in to hear. He listened. Really listened. When he inquired, he remembered the answers. Our first date, which was supposed to be 2 hours, went 4 hours. The second ended in his car with both of us laughing, because we did not want to say goodbye. By the third, I already felt it, that shaky kind of warm crash that takes up residence in your chest when you say to yourself, this might be something. He warned me early on that he was complicated. Not like in a red flag sort of way, he said. Just layered. Work stress. Family expectations. Past relationships that left scars. He said he valued privacy. He was not keen to put his personal life on parade. I respected that. I comforted myself with the thought that not everyone has to declare their love for all the world to be true. So when he did not post pictures of the two of us, I let it go. When he failed to introduce me to his colleagues at office functions, I told myself it was professional boundaries. And I told him I wouldn't tag him on Instagram when he requested it of me. Love, I surmised, must involve compromise. The first time I realized something was wrong, it was at a friend's wedding. We were dating for nearly a year. I was still excited. My dress, the music, the thought that we would finally have a thing together to attend where we could just be us. He stiffened as we entered the place. Let's make some space, he said, thumbing toward me in his casual way. I know a few people here. I laughed, thinking he was kidding. He wasn't. He kept his distance all night, far enough that no one would think we arrived together. When someone inquired as to how we knew each other, he replied, "Oh, we're just friends." Just like that. No hesitation. No glance in my direction. I smiled and accepted it graciously, but inside something broke. If I brought it up later, he genuinely acted as if he was confused about why it would hurt. "You know I'm private," he told him. "Who cares what people think?" I didn't have the language at the time to describe why it mattered, that it mattered because I, a Jewish gay woman, mattered. Or, at least, I wanted to. Instead, I apologized. For being sensitive. For fussing over nothing. That became our pattern. And every time I asked for more clarity, more visibility, more commitment, he interpreted it as pressure. As drama. As insecurity. He always had a rational explanation, a calm tone that made me feel crazy for wanting something so basic. "You're that I don't know whether it is even in the dictionary. I guess I'm saying fortissimo. You are important in my life," he'd say when I pulled away. "I just don't like labels. I'm not hiding you. I'm protecting what we have." And I so desperately wanted to believe him. We created a life on the edge. Late-night dinners. Weekend trips where we played like strangers in new cities. Jokes only nobody else would get. I was familiar with his fears, the childhood wounds he carried, and the dreams that were too scary for him to say aloud. I was the one he phoned when things went to hell. The guy who sat cross-legged with him on the bathroom floor when he was having a panic attack. Who knew how he took his coffee and the songs that would shut him up. Yet, somehow I was never the woman he chose for all to see. Years passed like this. 1 turned into 3. 3 into 5. Anniversaries were marked privately, softly. No photos. No posts. No shared milestones. Things stalled when friends asked if I was dating anybody. Saying his name felt complicated. Like telling a half-truth. The word secret never crossed his lips. Not then. And it did, one night in our 6th year, when everything finally burst. It was his birthday. I'd arranged something simple but thoughtful, his favorite meal, a small cake, a handwritten letter I'd been cobbling together for weeks. I was anxious the way you are when you have given your heart to something and are hoping it will be scooped up gently in return. He was midway through dinner when his phone vibrated. He looked at it, then flipped it face down. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah," he said quickly. "Just work stuff." I didn't push. I never did. That night, as he entered the shower, his phone lit up once more on the nightstand. I wasn't trying to snoop. I really wasn't. But the screen flashed a name I did not know and a message preview that gave me an instant pit in my stomach. "You just didn't tell them about us yet." I watched the screen, my heart beating so loud that I was sure it would wake him. When I picked up the phone, my hands were shaking. There was no lock. He'd never felt any need to hide it from me anyway. The messages weren't explicit. They were worse. Casual. Familiar. Intimate in a way that you achieve through shared routine, not stolen moments. Months that they had been a couple.
"She knew about me."
Or at least she knew there was anybody. But the terms that he had laid out to her were clear. I was a complication. A past that never completely let go. When he emerged from the shower, towel around his waist, singing softly to himself, I was sitting on the edge of the bed holding his phone in my hand. He froze. The silence between us lingered, heavy and oppressive. Finally I said, "What do you want me to be to you?" He opened his mouth, closed it, raked a hand through his damp hair. And then he said it. "You're someone I care about. But you know my situation." I laughed. Not because it was amusing, but because whatever had been brewing inside me finally snapped. 6 years, I said quietly. 6 years, and you still don't know what I am to you? And he sat in front of me and his tone was soft, almost imploring. "It's not like that. And you know that I have feelings for you." But I couldn't yet be completely authentic. "Yet," I repeated.
"When?"
"Another 6 years?" He hesitated. And in that pause, I knew everything. I wasn't his partner. I wasn't his future. I was his secret. It hurt that I cannot even begin to put into words. It wasn't just the betrayal, it was the grief. Mourning for that other me, who waited, who adjusted, who made herself small to fit inside someone else's clandestine life. I replayed in my mind every time I had swallowed it. Each time I told myself that much was unreasonable. Every boundary I crossed because of love for him. Love shouldn't require invisibility. I rose to my feet. I was shaky, but mentally unaccountably clear. "I'm done," I said. He looked stunned. "You don't mean that." "I do," I replied. "I do deserve to be picked out loud." He took my hand, panic slipping over his face.
"Please.
Don't do this. We can fix it." But I already was walking away, not just from him, but from the self who believed that being hidden was the price of being loved. Leaving wasn't dramatic. No one had screamed, thrown anything. No dramatic tear-streaked exit, suitcases in hand, and the door closing behind me. The healing process took longer than I thought it would be. There were evenings I instinctively picked up my phone. Mornings I woke up wanting to hear his voice. Times when I questioned everything. If I had overreacted, if I had thrown away something real. But over time, something else also grew in the void he left behind.
Clarity.
I noticed how light I felt, not having to justify my presence. How freeing, and yet also limiting, it was to be seen without having to ask. I rekindled friendships I had let slip. I had to relearn myself outside of my waiting. And gradually, I stopped blaming myself. I wasn't too much. I wasn't impatient. I wasn't undeserving of public affection. I was just with someone who never truly wanted to pick me.
6 years taught me a lot.
The most crucial one, however, was this. If anyone loves you, you don't have to hide. You'll never have to bargain for your worth. You won't have to wait in dark while they live on in the light. Now when I think of him, I don't have any anger. Just a quiet understanding. Some people don't want partners. They want secrets. And I refuse to be one anymore.